They're going to think I planted that question. So I'll answer another question that's more valuable. Why didn't you go to KubeCon 2023? So I did go to KubeCon in spirit. Does that count? It doesn't count. That's what you say when you didn't go and you're like trying to make an excuse. Yes, I am. We're answering the question. KubeCon. So I just honestly I don't like conferences. I've told people this before. I am not a conference goer. I was thinking about going to this conference because it just happens to be in an area that's near uh, where the people that I work with most live. And that doesn't really mean anything. I work for a company where everybody is all over the world. So, but what I'm trying to say is that yeah, so they some of them went to it actually, and I did not go. Yeah, sad face. Wah, wah. In fact, it's funny because my team didn't even know about KubeCon. 6 months ago, I told them on a team meeting, I said, y'all know that KubeCon is like in your backyard. And they were like, no, I didn't know. And then they forgot. And then like 3 months passed, and I said, "Y'all know that KubeCon is in your backyard." And went, "Oh yeah, that's right." And then they all got funded, and they were able to go to KubeCon. And I know, so um, and everybody who knows, I mean, Tony Fa and a million other people in our stream here are big time Kubernetes people, and they were all there, obviously. And for different reasons, different capacities. I'm not going to dox anybody, but the only reason that I would have actually gone would have been to sit down and to meet with somebody. And for a while, I was planning on going. My wife and I, Cranbrook is one of the colleges she was considering for her Master's of Fine Arts. Um, I don't know how much she likes me to talk about what university she's considering because I think she's a little bit afraid of people, you know, hearing that she applied and didn't get in, or just self conscious about that. So I'm not going to say anything more about that, other than to say that she has been on tour. That's where I was this last week. We were visiting all kinds of awesome places, which I can't wait to tell you. Um, and so back in almost yeah, and so that I mean that's my thing with conferences. I've never really been to any conferences ever. The only thing even remotely close to a conference that I've been to has been like a career fair in the local town. I used to go to those in Portland all the time when I worked at Nike because it was a good way to kind of get a sense of what the jobs are out there. Plus, you feel like a rock star because everybody wants to hire you, and they put really sexy people in all the booths, and they give you a lot of free stuff, and you bring a resume and you dress up, and they have no idea whether you're going to be the next, billionaire IT guy or you're nobody. They don't care. And it's kind of fun to go to those, right? In fact, I strongly encourage people to go to those. It's good for your ego. It's also good for you to get a sense of like what's out there, right? Um, and so if you can find a good local tech career fair, that might be fun, more fun for you. Plus, I mean, take your friends and go, right? And even if you don't have any intention of changing jobs, I find that much more valuable than going to. If I was going to go to a conference, it would be, I don't know, it would be like a Comic Con. I would love to go to one of those, or I'd rather go to like a concert or something like that. I'm not so. I've thought about going to Go Con. Is that a thing? Go for Con. Um, I've actually seriously thought about going to Go for Con, but I would only go to Go for Con if I was presenting. There is one big exception to that. I did go to Istio. No, not Istio. That's a Kubernetes thing. Uh, the International Society for Tech and Education. What is that called? What's it called? I forgot the name of it. I can't believe it. Anyway, it's an educators conference for tech and education. ISTI. It's ISTI, not Istio. It's ISTI. They call it ISTI, right? So I went to that in 2009, I want to say. Um, Rob Pike and Kelsey Hightower. Yeah, I think it would be fun to listen to Pike and Kelsey. But again, I don't necessarily need to be there to listen to them. I know a lot of people really like that. It's like, kind of like starry eyed, rock star kind of syndrome and meeting your idols, that kind of thing. I, I, I mean, it's not that I don't appreciate it, but I mean, I have dreams literally about, going to a pub with Aaron Schwartz and Rob Pike and Lawrence Lessing and John Gruber, and I do. I actually have dreams that could be able someday to hang out with these people that I actually would really, really love to hang out with someday. It's all fantasy, though. I probably would hate it. Just because I'm such a disagreeable person. But so are they. So maybe we would get along. I don't know. But that's the reason to go to conferences. You get along with people because you meet people. And if I were to ever go to TwitchCon, that was why I would go. I would go to TwitchCon to meet you, and I mean it. I would go to TwitchCon because I would want to meet the people that are regular participants here. And people really don't like it. I think I would probably love him, though. I probably wouldn't like me, but I think he's the kind of guy that I would really like. Jim Copleen is another one that I would love to have a meal with and just let him yell at me and spit on me, and just because I value his opinion so much, even though he's such an asshole. I guess I like assholes. I don't know. Anyway, so conferences are a place to go hang out with the assholes that you've always wanted to meet. How's that? That's so, and that includes many members of my community here. So, and I say that affectionately. I really mean it. Some of the people that you're most going to respect in life, obviously, are going to be the ones you're going to have the most disagreement and friction with over time. That's just how it goes. And it doesn't mean you have to be mean about it, but whatever. Torvalds would be another one, right? I would love to hang out with Torvalds. Torvalds would probably rip me a new one, for any number of reasons. and I would, and people when they know what they're talking about, yeah, I know that's kind of hard. Imagine being a Gopher Con and seeing Ken Thompson sneak around. Yeah. I mean, Ken Thompson is the one person that I really miss not having been able to see in real life was Dennis Ritchey. I think Dennis Ritchey is one of the greatest gods of our time, for so many reasons. And I don't know. I because he was so unsung. He was such an important figure in our world. Died the same week as Steve Jobs. Nobody noticed. Not even particularly after glory, even on his own team. And as much as I respect Ken Thompson and Kernighan a lot, I mean, I totally respect them. Ritchie was the kind to just be quiet and just work. And, you'd be more likely to hear from Kernighan or Thompson because they were doing this all the time. Thompson less than Kernighan, of course. But that was their job, of course. And so those are the kind of people that I would want to hang out if I was going to go to a conference. I don't want anywhere near Stallman ever in any conference, even though I still think he's one of the most significant contributors to the technical world ever. Far more valuable contributions to the tech world, business models built after stuff that he spearheaded. Even if you don't like Stallman, far more significant of a contributor than Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, or Bill Gates, all combined, because Stallman revolutionized the way that we do business, and none of the others can claim that. They made amazing products. They spearheaded great things. They stole great ideas and brought them to the market. Those are Steve Jobs' exact words, by the way. And they did amazing things, but not a single one of them revolutionized the business models of the IT industry. Stallman is the only one who can claim that. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be around him. You attended his funeral? Wow. Somebody actually went to Dennis Ritchie's funeral. See, that like tugs at my heart. That's how I know. The reason that Dennis Ritchey is so important to me is because, in fact, I've been reading The Innovators, right? I haven't got to him yet. I'm looking forward to it. It's still several pages away. This is all related to conferences, right? It's because the kind of people. Oh, your father did, right? So the kind of people who are represented by the Dennis Ritchey types are the kind of people who make such a significant difference in the world that we just do not hear about. Another one in that class is T.J. Holowaychuk, which I recently quoted. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and read the quote. And this actually sort of relates to to this idea about why would I go to conferences. I mean, this is kind of the way it relates is that I would only go to a conference if it was to meet my heroes. And the heroes that attend a conference are less likely to be the ones that I would be interested in hearing from. To quote TJ Hollowaychuk, who, if you don't know TJ, is go Google it. Creator of Express and a number of other fantastic things. Because of TJ Hollowaychuk in 2014, I read Farewell to Node and I learned about Go ahead of everybody else because I had been following in the footsteps of TJ, who is a remarkable. He's so prolific, he's actually thought to be a hive mind. That is a quote. There's even been conference presentations about this person. And so his comment on this is, and he tweeted this one day and I immediately wrote it down, the level of technical content quality is inversely proportional to the prolificness of the author. This is why it is so difficult and valuable to uncover those few who actually know what they are talking about. Because they do it every day for hours a day. And who are willing and able to write about it. So you can find all kinds of people who will write about things and that they'll publish books and they'll make YouTube videos and they'll stream and do all kinds of stuff. Are they the people you first want to hear from? No. And the reason I was reminded of this is because people like TJ, and TJ wasn't talking about himself, but he clearly fits that model. I don't think that's trash talk. That wasn't trash. I wasn't trash talking anybody. I'm just saying that the people that you're most likely to hear from are, and I agree with it, are the people that you are less likely to find value in. And that goes for me too. There's people that are far, far more qualified than me. Many of whom actually frequent my chat over here. They come into the chat on their break, for 5 or 10 minutes, and they drop some wisdom or tell me I'm doing something stupid or something, and then they're off on their way, right? And so what I'm saying is, the more likely you are to hear from somebody, the less likely you are to want to care what they have to say, and that really goes for YouTube. I mean, YouTube has got so many people who will push their agenda and they just like to hear themselves. A lot of them. Some of them have social media marketing degrees. Some are, whatever. They just love to talk, and I'm among them. Which is why you should be careful with what you hear from me. It's also the reason that I haven't produced a lot of books or anything, right? Because I would rather talk about it, do the least amount of effort. I mean, at least I still have a job. Right? I mean, at least I have a job. I mean, there's so many people who make blah, 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 blah their job. That's their job. Whether they're blah, blah, blahing on paper or they're blah, blah, blah with fancy, poses and shit on YouTube and Twitch, they'll do that and they'll get the sponsorships and everything. Have they ever actually deployed it in production at their place of business? No, because they don't have a fucking place of business. So that's a little trash talk. I agree. I admit, but I think it's relevant. Because conferences are where you go to hear people, and you can hear people anywhere. You can hear people on YouTube. You can hear. Now it is true. And this is, okay, so let me say something positive about conferences. It is true that those people who have something valuable to say, who don't say it because they're so busy all the time, TJ was talking about, those kind of people, if they're going to say something, usually they don't have time to write a whole book. But if they're going to make time for something that's important, they'll make time for a conference presentation. Almost always. That's one of the things. If you're going to see somebody, if you're going to see one of those people talk, if you're going to see a Dennis Ritchey, if you could, that's where it would be. It would be at a conference. It might be the only place. And unless you're so lucky that one of these people just pops in like Guido van Rossum used to do to a local Python meetup, users meetup group. Right. So for that reason, I do think, those rock stars that you may, the unsung heroes and the people that are so busy that you don't want to hear from them. Now I'm going to pick on a couple of people specifically. I think Kelsey Hightower is an amazing human being for everything I can tell. I've read the blogs about him. I appreciate his style. I appreciate some of the authenticity he brings to bear on the whole thing, including saying things like, hey, it might be a bad idea to put Postgres in Kubernetes and stuff. But the evangelists out there are the ones that are going to spend a lot of time crafting a presentation and less time with their hands in the technology. Now, some of those people are so traveled that they've seen a lot of problems that you won't see if you're just got your heads down working on something. Yeah, he does seem like a real blast, and he's fun guy to have a beer with and talk to. But I think Kelsey would be the first one to tell you that he's not the world's authority on Kubernetes. Because I mean, he doesn't have his head down in the source code all the time. He's not. I mean, he's not Dennis Ritchey, is what I'm saying. I'm not picking on you, Kelsey, if you're watching this. I'm just saying. I think that he would be the first one to tell you that he might have a really great high level architectural idea about what's going on and be able to steer direction because he has so much contact with so many people who are deploying at scale, which is a very valuable thing. It's extremely valuable. It's a very high paid skill. But when it comes to understanding the inner workings and quirks and foibles of the software and the code and why Helm charts are so disastrous and all these things, I mean, he might have a knowledge of that, but he definitely doesn't have the daily knowledge of that goes with somebody who's in the source code all the time, doesn't come up for error, and is dealing with these problems every day. And those are the people like Dennis Ritchey, who was like that, who you might get to hear them at KubeCon. So I guess the takeaway from that is if you are going to go to a conference, seek out some kind of he's a humble and funny guy with smarts. Yeah. And I think that's what he would, and those are fun things to have. But I think Kelsey would probably be also the first one to tell you, oh my God, if so-and-so speaks, you need to hear them. I mean, let's say if there was a Dennis Ritchey, I mean, I'm really stretching here, but let's say there was a Dennis Ritchey and Kelsey both speaking at the same time. I think Kelsey would be the first one to go, no, go listen to Dennis, And so, so he probably like canceled the time to go see Dennis or an equivalent of Dennis. You see what I'm saying? So if you have people who are, I mean, truly subject matter experts, they're not just entertaining. They're like truly subject matter experts, and they never say anything ever. They don't come up for air. They don't speak. They don't do anything. Like TJ. If TJ was presenting, I would like drop everything and drive 500 miles to go hear what he had to say. Because TJ has successfully started his own business without any venture capital. He regularly complains about making less than a junior engineer, and he has completely revolutionized the world with his contributions to open source. I just find that so absolutely mind-blowing. Yes, I'm a huge fanboy. Because why? But based on all of that, does he have any time to come up for air and speak? No. In fact, the only recorded conference of him is in Brazil when he appeared with a bunch of other guys and was asked the question point blank, what should I do to learn something? And his answer was very succinct. He said, go find something that's important and popular and rewrite it. And you'll come to understand it better in the process. You'll have to understand how it works. You'll get all educated. And you might end up making something better in the process. Those are his exact words. Absolutely brilliant. The one time he opens his mouth, I mean, literally the only time that's recorded in history for this person to open their mouth. And, that comes out. So I'm really glad to hear it. Rewrite it in Rust. Maybe not. So anyway, and people, another, like Brian Cantrell comes to mind, right? Brian Cantrell is crazy entertaining. He's also a huge genius when it comes to programming languages, and I wish him the best at Oxide Computing and all the stuff that's going on over there. But you don't hear a lot from him these days because, now he's making shit. He's back down into engineer mode. And maybe it's just because I'm not around. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you're going to go to a conference, go there to see your heroes, specifically the heroes who are not just entertaining, but who very rarely say anything. And they may not have a big marketing team behind them to push their agenda, and they might not show up on social media. So if you're going to go to a KubeCon or something like that, make sure you go for the right reasons, and you at least what I think is the right reason, and you find those people the Dennis Ritcheys out there and hear what they have to say. Guys like me are super easy to find, and I've made it easy to find me on purpose. And which leads me into, it's not a question here, but lately for the last 3 days, I have been, I'm going to answer another question here. So stay tuned for the next question.